Welcome to my brain lab. I am Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, and I want to share some information with you about anxiety and what is going on inside of the brain when we experience anxiety. And I will share with you a tool that you can use, the 90-second rule, in order to help yourself the next time you are having an experience of anxiety. So I'm just hoping to set you up for success in a different way of looking at anxiety in your brain. So anxiety in the brain is this beautiful organ. And here I have for you a whole human brain. And when you think about the brain is made up of cells. And you can see that it's clearly divided into a right hemisphere and a left hemisphere. And the two hemispheres here are the same in that they're going to process the same similar information coming in from the external world. But the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere are unique in how they process that information. The left hemisphere brings information in through the sensory systems, and then it compares it to our past experience. So if I have experience come in that I might be afraid of, my brain automatically brings that information in, compares it to my past, and says, is this something I should say no to and push away from, or am I safe and may I move toward it? So what that means is that the left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. It takes information, it compares it to the past, it brings it into the present, and then it projects an opinion into the future experience. The right hemisphere is very different in that it's what we call a parallel processor. And the parallel processor brings in, what am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? What is the temperature of the room? And it's bringing all that information into that right hemisphere so that right here, right now, I am having an explosive experience of the present moment. So I have the ability to consciously choose if I want to put my mind into the present moment or if I put what did I have for breakfast this morning? I can put my mind into the past and I can remember that. And in order to do that, I use my left hemisphere. So inside of here, even though we look at ourselves and we say, well, I'm a human, I'm a woman, I have a brain. Well, actually, I have a collection of cells. And the primary cell of the nervous system are neurons. And every ability we then have because we have very specific neurons that are performing that function. So I can speak to you because I have a group of cells. That's their job. I can understand when you speak to me because there are some cells that allow me to place meaning on the sounds coming into my brain. I have the ability to move my hand because I have motor cells in the right hemisphere of my brain. The typical neuron is capable of communicating with thousands of other neurons in network. And so what you're looking at with this beautiful neuron is a cell body and all these dendrites reaching out, and then all the little pink dots represent other neurons that are reaching in and communicating with that neuron. So the brain is made up of all of these beautiful cells. And every ability we have because we have cells performing that function. So at the same time, our ability to experience anxiety is completely dependent on the cells inside of our brain that create the experience of anxiety. So when you think about that human brain, if you divide it apart, so here is what I'm going to do for you, is I'm going to take that human brain and I'm going to divide it apart. As you look at these two hemispheres, they have thinking cortex, they have thinking tissue, and then down here they have emotional tissue, which is part of the system we call the limbic system. And the thing about the brain is that it has two thinking cortices and it has two emotional systems. So when we think about the brain, divided into the higher cerebral cortex and then the limbic system, the cells of the emotion. And in the emotional system are a couple of structures called the amygdala and the hippocampi. So amygdala is more than one amygdala, and a hippocampi is more than one hippocampus. So the amygdala come in, and information from the external world streams in, and it goes into the cells of the limbic system first. And so it goes to the cells of the amygdala, and they're asking this question, am I safe? That is their job, to determine whether or not I'm safe in the external world. And it's going to do that based on how much of the information coming in this moment feels familiar. And when information coming in feels familiar, then I feel calm. My amygdala is calm because I feel safe. And then the two hippocampi, one in each hemisphere, can turn on, and then I can learn and memorize new information. So again, when information comes in, it's going to come in and it's going to hit the inner emotion first, and from there, it's going to go up into the higher cortex for higher cognitive thinking. What this means is that at a neuroanatomical level, at the level of our brain, we are actually feeling creatures who think. We are feeling creatures who think instead of thinking creatures who feel. So the information is going to come into our emotional modules, which are going to be in here and over in here, from information coming in through the brainstem, through some of the cranial nerves of information processing, and it's going to go to the lower limbic first, and then we'll pass that up into higher cortex. So we human beings are feeling creatures who think. And one of the most interesting things about our brain is that for the cells of the limbic system, they're pretty much already in position by the time we're born, because when I'm born into the world, I'm having experience, information is coming in, I'm very much in the present moment, I'm just responding, trying to get attention by wailing, and so those cells are developed. And this is really important because the cells of our higher thinking, they do mature. But the cells of our limbic system, our emotional system, never mature. And that's why I, a woman over 60, I have the capacity to throw a temper tantrum just like I was a 2-year-old, because those cells of my limbic system never mature. So we are feeling creatures who think, and this is why it is so important that when we do have emotions, that we allow ourselves to actually think about them and process them and reflect upon them and try to do some healing and some work with them, because if we just squash our emotions, it's like a pipe. And if you block a pipe and you still got a flow going, eventually something's going to give. And usually, if it is us, humans, and we do not process and take care of our emotions and value our emotions, then this gets in the way of our mental health. So as we look at neuroanatomy and we look at neuroscience, what's kind of new and exciting? One thing is what we call neurogenesis. And with neurogenesis, is neuro represents brain and nervous tissue. Genesis is rebirth. We do have the ability to grow some new neurons. You might have been taught that the brain cells you're born with, or the brain cells you're going to die with, take care of them because you're never going to get any more. Well, that's pretty much 99% true. But in the event of trauma or some forms of learning, we can still actually have some new neurons grow, neurogenesis, and take position in order to help the brain heal. Also, neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the different neurons inside of the brain to rearrange which brain cells they're communicating with inside of that network. So this is actually how we learn. If a neuron was just in position with all the other neurons just in position, then all we would know is what we know. We would not be able to bring in new information, create new connections, strengthen some connections, dismantle other connections, as in healing, and then have a new learning experience. So neurogenesis is important, and neuroplasticity is our ability to rearrange arrange which cells are communicating with which cells. And one of the most interesting things is mindfulness. Because of mindfulness, we have the ability to use our minds to purposely change which cells are communicating with which cells, and we can change the underlying anatomy of our brain. So the brain is this organ that is in constant change, and it's different already from the moment you came in here and you opened your mind to the possibility of learning new information. Your brain is actively in the process of changing. So at any moment in time, there are only three things going on inside of our brain. We have the capacity to think thoughts, we have the capacity to feel emotions, and then we run a physiological response to what we are thinking and what we are feeling. So I have the ability to think a thought. I have the ability to then run an emotion in response to what I am thinking and feeling. And then I can run a physiological response where if it's going to be like anger, noradrenaline will flood from my brain into my bloodstream. It will flush through me and then flush out of me in less than 90 seconds. So I can think a thought, stimulate an emotion, and then run the physiological response to that emotion, have it flood through me and flush out of me. And from the moment I think the thought to it's completely out of my bloodstream takes less than 90 seconds. And I call this the 90-second rule. And this is power. You have the ability to observe yourself when you are experiencing something that makes you feel uncomfortable. You can observe yourself feeling that discomfort. You can remember the thoughts that you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't get on that elevator. That doesn't feel safe. I feel like I feel anxiety. I feel uncomfortable. So I'm thinking the thoughts. I'm stimulating my anxiety and my fear circuitry. And then my brain is dumping chemicals into my bloodstream, and I'm having a physiological response such that my shoulders go up. You can see me do that automatically. My shoulders go up. As that happens, my chest tightens, which means my breath gets more shallow. There's a furrow in my brow. I clench my jaw, and I may start to sweat, and I start pacing kind of like a nervous animal. So that's the physiological response that I experience when I have anxiety. But from the moment I think the thought, oh my gosh, I don't feel safe, to, oh my gosh, I don't feel safe, I'm actually starting to turn on the anxiety circuitry, and the physiological response floods through me and flushes out of me completely, is less than 90 seconds. And this is pure power inside of yourself. We all know that anxiety feels horrible. It feels like a vice grip is on my brain. All of a sudden, I'm in the alarm, alert, pay attention. I'm feeling primal. I'm having all that physiological response that I just went through. And sometimes if you're experiencing anxiety or something, a negative emotion, you can actually look at your watch if you have a watch on. Does anybody wear watches anymore? If you have a watch on, otherwise go to your phone, push your button, see what time it is. Watch over 90 seconds, that emotion will actually dissipate out of your brain, out of your blood, and you can bring yourself back to neutral again where we feel. Now, it's really important to note that in the last 5 years between everything going on in our society, our amygdala have been on fire. We are dealing with economic, we are dealing with political issues, and we are dealing with our physical health, with the coronavirus, and all of this ultimately impacts our overall mental health. So we are this magnificent, beautiful collection of cells, and every ability we have because we have cells that are performing that function. Now, when you think about yourself at this level and you start observing yourself instead of simply engaging in the anxiety or engaging in the fear, watch yourself. Pay attention the next time you're starting to rev up to real anger or rev up to anxiety, because it doesn't hit like that. You have all these different physiological things going on. They're complex, they're all encompassing, it's designed to save your life. So it's designed to bring you to the right here, right now experience. But ask yourself, as you observe yourself performing these behaviors, how reactive are you? How reactive and how calm? How much stimulation does it take in order for you to, if this is your threshold level, then how much stimulation does it take for you to go over that edge? And some of us have a really low threshold down here where it doesn't take much stimulation at all because we've been on fire for the last 5 years with our amygdala saying, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe. Or do you have a threshold up here where you're pretty calm cucumber, right? And you're just like chilling. But then, boom, eventually you get there. But how reactive are you? And once you are reactive, the trigger, you get there and then it's a trigger. And once the trigger goes, how quick are you to the draw to actually lash out at someone else in the external world? And it's important to pay attention to your own patterns. So how reactive are you? How quick to the trigger are you? And then how quickly do you recover? And some people can stay anxious for hours upon hours or days or weeks or months, and we're just living in a high anxiety state, which drains the adrenals, and we're stressed, and it is so hard on our overall body. And some people, they go out for a walk and they think about other things and they've recovered quickly. So it's important to you to know about what's going on inside of your brain. We have this wonderful ability to use our higher cerebral mind to have a relationship and observe and interact with what's going on inside of our limbic system, what's going on with the amygdala and the hippocampi, and what can we do. And when we really learn to practice the 90-second rule, it can change your life. So I encourage you to think about the next time you start feeling something in your gut or something in your chest or something in your jaw, and you're actually observing your anxiety or your fear, just pay attention and use your higher cortical brain in order to soothe and consider what's going on in the rest of your body. When you do look at your brain, we do have these two magnificently beautiful cerebral cortices of higher thinking, and then we have these two emotional systems. And we are designed to at all times be having an interplay and a relationship between our higher thinking and our amygdala. So we don't need to always be caught up in our anxiety. And the next time you're feeling anxiety, think about that little circuit of cells that is saying alarm, alarm, alert, alert, and then bring your mind to the present moment and observe your 90 seconds. Every time you become aware of yourself feeling anxious, and then you consciously choose to shift your focus away from that feeling of alarm, alarm, alert, alert, and you choose to observe it, you train your brain to respond differently. Because of that amazing idea of neuroplasticity, the ability of your brain to change when you learn new things, the more you practice this 90-second rule, the stronger that circuitry becomes, and you will spend less time feeling anxious. So we do have the ability to have some say in what's going on inside of our brain. And in the big picture of things, I think we should all be wearing shirts that say, I love my amygdala. I love my amygdala. Think about these beautiful groups of cells that you can help them stay calm, and just be grateful that when they do turn on, though, even if you do move into anxiety, those are cells that are trying to save your life. So they're actually friend, not foe. Thank you.